Today I'm going to tell you a story that I wrote. It aims to paint a picture of the biggest disaster of recent times while showing the power of love. The protagonist of our story is Emily. Once, she was flying down to her hometown. She had a window seat, so she made her way to the seat and asked the guy on the aisle seat, "Excuse me, please?" The guy looked at her. He was the most handsome guy she had ever seen. The guy gave her a sigh, but Emily could not stop looking at him. She was spellbound. The guy repeated, "Go on." Embarrassed, Emily looked away and took her seat. She was blushing, trying not to look in his direction, but she could not resist. She looked at him to find out he was looking at her. Their eyes met for a second, but they both looked away instantly. Emily resisted again to not look at him, but she could not resist again. She looked at him again, sneakily, to find out he was flexing his biceps, trying to show off his muscles. Emily knew that this guy is trying to impress me, but she was not going to give in that easily. So she opened her book and pretended to read it, though all she could think about was the hot guy next to her. Suddenly, the guy asked him, "Do you always read the book upside down?" And she realized she was indeed holding the book upside down. She gave her an apologetic expression, and they both burst out laughing. He introduced himself as Mark, and before they knew it, they were sharing their deepest secrets, laughing uncontrollably, lost in each other. They realized they had many common interests, common likes and dislikes. The flight landed, and it was time to say goodbye. But of course they could not. It was the day after Christmas, so they made a plan to walk to a nearby church. It was dark, it was cold. Mark suddenly heard the noise of a car approaching them at a high speed. And then he saw the flashlights. In an instant, he turned around, hugged Emily, and got in front of her so that the car would hit him and not her. Luckily, the car stopped. Emily asked him, "Were you really going to give your life for me?" And Mark replied, "In love, some things are obvious." And in that moment, they both knew they were always going to be together. 5 years and millions of experiences later, Mark and Emily are happily married. They have a cute, small daughter, Stella. They have a small house by the beach in Sumatra, Indonesia. It was 26th December 2004. They were having breakfast, laughing and chatting, when suddenly Mark held Emily's hand and said, "It has been 5 years today since I first met you, since my life changed forever." And he gave her a signed collector's edition of her 5 favorite books, one for each year he had known and loved her. Emily was elated, and she asked, "How much trouble did you go through to get it?" Mark replied simply, "In love, some things are obvious." Just then, they heard a thundering noise. They looked out and saw that the water in the beach was much further up than usual. It was like a wall, very black in color. The waves were thundering and thrashing uncontrollably, and water was approaching them at a rapid pace. This was the This was the 2004 Indian Ocean Tsunami, one of the biggest disasters of all time. Mark and Emily took their daughter Stella and ran for their life as water came crashing down on them from behind, destroying everything in its path, uprooting all structures, breaking all hopes. Emily saw one of her friends hugging a tree for support, but before she could help her, the waves uprooted the tree and her friend was lost in the water forever. Emily was terrified for herself and her family. They knew they could not outrun the water, so they hoped against hope that the top of the building would be safe. They climbed to the top frantically, faster than they had ever ran before. Stella was crying uncontrollably as she saw her whole world crumbling down under the devilish waves. Emily hugged Stella and assured her that everything would be all right, even though she knew nothing would ever be the same. Emily could distinctly hear a thrashing sound that was getting closer each second. And just then, the waves hit the building. The building gave in. The terrace fell down from one side, and people and structures alike rolled down the slope to the end, including Emily. Mark, however, managed to hold Emily's hand, and Emily hung down the edge with Mark's hand as a support. Mark tried to pull Emily up, but he could not. The slope was too steep. Emily looked at the approaching waves and the struggling Mark and said, "Let me go, Mark. Save yourself and Stella." Mark looked at her in disbelief. Yet, in her eyes, he knew that this was the only thing to be done. He asked why. Emily looked into his eyes and said, "In love, some things are obvious." And she let go of his hand. Thank you.